everyone. Welcome to another afternoon, probably for you, evening for me, with Lit with Lenin. How is everyone today? How are you doing, Janet?
I am doing all right. I'm doing okay. I got like I was like I just jumped in Twitter last night, after my medicine started hitting, and I jumped in Twitter, and the first thing I saw was Turkey, and I was like, "Whoa!" Because I saw just
Well, they had two earthquakes today: Turkey, Syria, and Lebanon. And on
yeah.
um, Kazakhstan just had an earthquake. So I don't know if this is like what this is.
Yeah, I don't know. Because the Turkey, so they do frack in the southeast, but it's also a fault line. So I mean they're used to getting earthquakes, but this one was huge.
I know, and this
Whole
one was a
buildings
huge.
was crazy.
Yeah, and Syria too, and now Kazakhstan. So maybe God isn't so happy. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. Harp.
Harp. How can I lose G? Harp. What does harp mean besides the?
Oh, it's the HAARP is that the weather, the people that can like change the weather. I can't remember what it stands for. Hold on. HAARP.
Harp.
It's high frequency active auroral research program.
Interesting. Yeah, the earthquakes are definitely pretty bad. And if you go to Kevork, I can't forget, he has an Armenian name, really long, Kevork. He runs Syriana analysis. He has had some donation links to help with the earthquake victims. Nomo Popo says, good morning, evening. And this reminds me of Truman Show with Jim Carrey, where he says, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, is what he says, right?
Yeah. Well, especially since you're, I don't know, a quarter of the world away. No,
half. I don't know where I am.
Third of the world away? I think you're a third of the world away. You're 8 hours from me, so you're a third of the world away.
Okay. You're a third of the world away. The world is an interesting place, right?
Tell me about it. You know, I do. So I think that I've been looking into anti-racism and stuff like that. And there's just something, I feel like if I'm anti-capitalist, I gotta, so I'm looking at that stuff. And so of course something comes up and I had happened to be going through old books and I had my white fragility book right then. And
oh my God, it is the worst, scabbiest, most HR friendly. I have nothing good to say about that book.
Yeah. But I mean, I just had it and someone said something. So I just read one little thing from it. I know the whole, I read the book years ago. So it's and
that lady is paid by the State Department, Robin D'Angelo.
Yeah, D'Angelo.
D'Angelo.
But all I did was read okay, this is the white fragility. And
greetings, Tavarish Dubovsky.
And so many white people were so angry about it. And it was all they don't understand, it's the whole thing of they don't understand that white is not a real race. They don't get.
Well, I mean, race is a social construct. White is different from, say, Croatian, Irish, Slovakian, Chechnyan, well,
Yeah,
Chechnyan's, whatever. Like there is that ethnicity, and then there
yeah,
is a pan-European identity created by slave owners in order to uphold the slave
yeah,
system here in America, which is not connected to your ethnicity, which
yes.
could be, but it's oh. And yesterday I created quite a storm because The Economist every year has this really stupid map of the democracy index,
Oh
and
God.
I made a joke. But then this year they downgraded Russia and Belarus to being very authoritarian. So people were, and because Russia takes up such a big red area, like authoritarian area, uh, people were not getting my joke, my of like basically The Economist like counting all the white countries as
Oh
like
wait, I think I saw that. It was on Twitter, right? I think I saw.
yeah, and then like Jeet here from The Nation said this is the most deranged map I've seen, and I'm like, duh, that's why I made this joke. It's based on The Economist's stupid
Yeah,
authoritarian map.
and I
So,
mean, like that's the whole thing. Like, who's deciding?
well, it is basically based on whether or not the State Department. It has nothing to do with actual authoritarianism, actual democracy, actual
Yeah,
whatever. It's literally what the State Department feels about you about this nation at this one point in time.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and the thing is that Western style democracy is not the only kind. I mean, it's not even democracy to be honest, because it's preserving capitalism at any cost.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, yesterday we had a good call in. Check that out once I release the episode. We
Okay.
read a few good articles. We read about how Colombia and Venezuela is having a new trade agreement, and we were very surprised by the strong comments by the Colombian government. It seems like just about a year ago they had Ivan Duque and lots of extremely right wing military forces, and then now it's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Matt
know.
said he'll be a little late because he's having trouble with his computer. Uh, shall we get started?
Sure. You want me to read? Nomo
Uh,
Popo is saying that Esha should have a my weekly Twitter breaking tweet storm segment.
yeah, I should. Yeah. Also, Germany decided to send 88 Leopard 2s and 14 Leopard 1s to Ukraine. And I said, I wonder if this is coincidental. And all these people are accusing me of like QAnon type of conspiracy theories. I'm like, no, when Germany sends over tanks. But the funny thing is that Ukrainian fascist Telegram channels have noticed that. And they're like, oh, yeah, and I should have my weekly Twitter, my weekly Twitter breaking tweet storm segment. Absolutely. And sometimes it's even like so dumb and minor, and people freak out over like the dumbest thing. Yeah. I
Yes.
remember once when liberal freaked out because I said West Germany was a safe space for Nazis, and of course, yes, it is a safe space for Nazis. Um, and it's like the most yeah. Where do we start? Anything else we want to talk about?
Nah, it's just been I don't know. It wasn't like a crazy news week that I can remember. I don't know. I was kind
Well,
of
there's that bloody balloon. Oh my
oh God.
god.
Tonight I was telling like so the balloon story reminded me of so my dad is an engineer, well, was an engineer, I guess, and so he had friends that had a place down the Cape Cod. I'm in Massachusetts, so Cape Cod is like where the Pilgrims landed and stuff. That's all our beaches and stuff. So they every weekend people go down there. So they had like a cottage down there, so they go down there. But what they would do every Friday night, and I know this isn't environmentally sound, but they let off one of those the hot air balloon things where you take the cooking thing and you put it just to celebrate. Like they'd be out drinking and they put it off, right? But there's Otis Air Force bases on because that's like Otis Air Force Base was like the first initial, like if someone was coming that way, Otis Air Force Base like can get them before they get to New York or something like that. Whatever.
Yeah.
So it's, but so sure enough, they were doing this, and like all of a sudden, like the next day, there was always like reports in the news that like the fighters were scrambled. There was, well, they were using the black bags which have carbon black, so they read as metal, or back then they read as metal anyways when they were up in the air. So it happened. They were doing it like 4 or 5 weeks in a row, and then they kept seeing the news articles, and they're like, I wonder. And they stopped for a week or two, and then they did it again, and there was no story for a week or two, and then they so
Yeah.
like it's just ridiculous. I mean, there's stuff in the sky all the time that they see this, and my father's laughing because he thinks the whole thing was like the Chinese people just sitting there like,
Yeah,
just
that's what I noticed from the WeChat channels, social media. Nomo Papo said Balloon 11. Yeah, it's just that ridiculous. And I don't even know if it's a spy. I don't even care what it is. I mean, the US literally flies over Chinese airspace, and China doesn't really do.
we literally have like bases on their border. Like how many?
Yeah, and in Taiwan is balkanized from them, and so it's like, yeah, just give it a rest. Even if it is a spy balloon, I just don't care.
I mean, how we spy on everyone. Like it's so
Yeah,
funny that like we
uh,
get so perturbed that someone's spying on us when we're probably doing the most spying in all the world. So
yeah, yeah. Exactly. So I don't get what the big deal is on the spy balloon. Except I feel like this was a way for Blinken to back down out of that.
oh
Uh,
yeah, that's where it came down to him backing out of it was the first time someone's been invited the way that he was, right, for a long time, and then he just wanted a reason to back out.
Yeah, and this scares me a little bit because it seems like US is gonna do a hot war with China, and two nuclear powers. By the way, thank you, Nomo Papo. Let's repeat. Hey, currently 10 viewers. Please hit like, subscribe, bell, super chat if you can. Please join the chat so I don't flood it with nonsense. Blinken wasn't even invited to travel to China. That is okay. This is
Oh, I
probably
thought
right.
okay, all right. I
He
thought,
was not invited. Okay, so maybe it was. I don't know what was going on there.
like I said, I wasn't really. I had a lot of plumbing and crap issues going on in my house, so I wasn't really paying too much attention to the news this week.
Yeah.
But
What else? So let's get started with
yeah,
beat, but not to death, and because this is very pertinent to Black Lives Matter, and oh yeah, Georgia has declared. So Georgia has this really in Atlanta, up near Atlanta, they have something called Cop City, where it's
oh god,
basically training cops to mow down dissent. Like it is one of the most fast. Ah, perfect. Okay, how do we bring him in?
I'll do it. I'll bring him on and do the.
Okay, how do we do the like that? Ah, perfect. Okay,
There we go.
welcome, Matt. Okay, so we're talking about Cop City, and basically, it's like a counterinsurgency program, not unlike the Coin. Check out our episode with Tim Schrock on the Coin program in the U.S., and also check out our episode on historically for Badges Without Borders.
Hey Matt, you're a little you have some fuzziness. I don't know why.
Oh, wait,
It,
wait. Did you say
it's
never mind or?
if you can clean it up, go for it. If
If
not,
you
it's
can,
not.
it's all right.
It's also all right.
Um. Okay, hold on. I think I know what it is. Just give me 1 second.
No problem.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, the Cup City is, but the Georgia governor declared martial law, and what else did he do?
I don't know. I just saw them running. I mean, like a dozen tanks. Like after they were putting out the Tyree Nichols video, like in Atlanta, there was like just going down the street, like tank,
Tanks,
tank, tank,
like
tank,
it's a war
tank.
zone.
Yeah,
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Yeah, and
All right. Is this
so
any better?
much
much
better.
better.
Okay. Yeah, I had a. I guess the my fan was on a setting higher than it normally is,
Oh
so that
yeah.
was
Ah,
probably it.
okay. So we were talking about how beat but not to death is relevant, and check out our last week's episode, of course, where the basic story of this is that there was this man who was allegedly drunk, but he was not drunk. It was the police officers, and the police officers kind of claimed that he reached for their sword, but he didn't, and then they beat him to death. And the police officers who beat this man to death, this is in 1901 Russia, get like really off easy. And Lenin thinks that this sentence is a mockery of justice because the only thing it tells future police officers is beat, but not to death.
Yes. So, Matt, do you want me to pick up? Do we all know where we're starting first?
I don't have the article on me right now, so I would have to pull it up first. So if you can start off, I remember we were like pretty much at the exact halfway mark.
Thanks to the reactionary law. Are you there, Asha?
Yeah, I can be there. And here is the link for Matt. Where is he? Telegram, Matt. Okay.
All right, excellent.
It's
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep,
6,
I'm there. I'm looking,
7.
but I'm
Yeah,
too
it's like the
tired
8th
to.
paragraph or something.
Yeah, today I was on len.ru or Ali, the YouTube channel where I was reading about the
I
world.
forgot you did that all in Russian, right?
Yeah, the World Bank in Russian, so I'm all read out.
All right. So, thanks to the reactionary law, the street was deprived of the right to try representatives of the government. Officials have been tried by officials. This has affected not only the sentence passed by the court, but also the character of the preliminary investigation and the trial.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, this is exactly like how what happens every time there's a case of police brutality
Mm-hmm.
when the prosecutor who relies on the police to just like hand him the like big stack of evidence and whatever crap they make up is not going to prosecute police officers. So he ends up like going to the grand jury and throwing the case.
Mm-hmm.
So this is literally the same thing because, and then you get the internal affairs who's like, yeah, we investigated ourselves and found that they were justified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trial by the street is valuable because it breathes a living spirit into the bureaucratic formalism which pervades our government institutions. The street is interested not only and not so much in the definition of the given offense, insulting behavior, assault, torture, or in the category of punishment to be imposed. It is interested in exposing thoroughly and bringing to public light the significance and all the social and political threads of the crime in order to draw lessons in public morals and practical politics from the trial. The
Yes.
street the street does not want to see in the court an official institution, that's in quotes, in which functionaries apply to given cases the corresponding articles of the penal code, but a public institution which exposes the ulcers of the present system, which provides material for criticizing it and consequently for improving it.
Hold on. Let me comment about this because
Okay.
exactly, this is why there needs to be some sort of independent citizens commission to actually try the police officers, because the like everything right now is made to cover it up. Not like even if you file a complaint, like how often do you see police officers have 10,000 complaints about them that really does
Oh,
not add up, or
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And
Or the non-zero number of times where where like a cop will report something to internal affairs and then like suddenly end up dead or somehow in a psych ward, like stripped of credentials.
yeah, exactly. So what it is that it's like almost operated like an excessive, like some sort of really well organized mafia, where the police are really like there's that code, and of course because and in the U.S. the worst thing is that there is no data like that's federally collected on police brutality cases, so none of us know how many there are. To be honest, like there are some ad hoc databases that kind of try to do it, But even these police brutality cases are just the ones that they've been caught.
Yeah, I mean,
Correct.
they banged my head off the car 3 times. They banged my head. That is abuse.
Exactly.
But that's not on any record. No one has that on a record.
Exactly.
So, impelled by its practical knowledge of public affairs and by the growth of political consciousness, the street is discovering the truth for which our official I think that's professional jurisprudence.
Professorial.
Oh, professorial. Yep. Professorial jurisprudence, weighed down by its scholastic shackles, is groping with such difficult and timidity. Yeah.
Shyness.
Yeah.
Timidity. Namely, I never said that word before, I don't think. Namely, that in the fight against crime, the reform of social and political institutions is much more important than the imposition of punishment. For this
Bingo.
reason,
Hold on. I feel like saying yes, exactly. Like right now in the U.S., the whole social and whatever other political institutions are disgusting, and it's like meant to shield horrible crimes against the people. And how can I lose? G made a great point. 1,400 people were arrested during the George Floyd protests. America needs a regime change.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, exactly, and
It's like back like pretty much almost exactly a year ago at this point. Like, how many times did I have to tell people on Twitter, like, why, yes, I would love it if Russia invaded us and denazified us. Like, what's keeping them?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's what they're like. But there's Nazis even here. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, what kind of dunk do you think this is? That like, oh no, not our Nazis. Keep our Nazis safe. We've got the good Nazis over here.
Exactly, and we have that is not a got you think. Okay, let's continue.
For this reason, the reactionary publicists and the reactionary government hate and cannot help hating trial by the street.
Hold on. He means by trial by the streets, he means actual trial by jury. And also in the Soviet Union, I was looking at the Moscow trials, and the way it started is because they were having like really crazy things, like random people dying in mines, and like things exploding and stuff like that. So the workers formed a committee to investigate what's going on in the mines, and then they ended up covering this like vast fascist conspiracy to destroy the Soviet Union. So he also means something like that, where workers can get together.
So this is like an inverse, more sarcastic version when he says trial by the street, meaning trial by the jury is like when FDR would refer to the mob whenever he meant direct democracy.
Yeah. Exactly. And
that's one of my favorite. Michael Parenti talks about that whole how the historians use the mob and the masses, like how they use that wording to kind of
Bain,
they know nothing.
No. Bain is not. It's like so. It makes sense when he's like, we're going to take whatever something and give it to you, the people.
I'm waiting for your Bain TikTok, by the way. Now that you could do it on.
Oh yeah, I will do it next tonight. I will do it tonight. Okay.
Talk to I think his @ is Resistance M. He does an amazing Bane impression. Talk to him and see if you can get him involved in that.
Okay, I will get involved. I will get him involved in that.
I'll send you his @ later.
Okay. But yeah, giving power to you, the people, it should not be scary. It's like they had to then add some random scary nuclear weapon after, they had to retcon that in order to
they had that absolutely Nolan just threw that in because he realized oh wait, most people aren't a candy ass liberal pansy like I am. They're going to think this is a good guy.
Yeah.
But you guys saying that is reminding me of something that it has nothing to do with cops, but I was having a conversation with someone about managers, and they're like, but managers have to do this. I go, okay, I did the payroll. Like they're like,
Yeah.
you need a manager for payroll. I'm like,
No.
I wasn't a manager, and
I love it when people actually, when I see somebody in public like legit do the like, I want to speak to the manager. Like, the manager has no idea what's going on. Have you not worked anywhere before? Like, anywhere.
Exactly. The manager has absolutely no idea what's going on, and he usually has a secretary. Like, he probably can't even type, and he probably, like, I've seen some really bad cases where he can't even type, and his secretary does everything.
Yeah, I was that person for many bosses. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like what? Like a paralegal is like just a lawyer who doesn't get any money for doing legal work. Like,
a very, very exploited lawyer.
Yeah.
So for this reason, the curtailments put on the competency of jury courts and the restrictions on publicity run like a scarlet thread throughout the whole of the post-reform history of Russia.
Hold on. Post-reform history, by this he means after 1861, when Tsar Alexander freed,
quote unquote,
the serfs.
Created the kulaks, you mean?
Well, not even that, because the serfs had to work for 7 years, and then they had to buy their own freedom, like with the money that they were supposed to earn as like, it was not like, there's nothing. It was just
no, it was a joke.
Yeah. Anyways, but the funny thing is that he talks about the restrictions. So in Tsarist Russia, they had to have restrictions on publicity for you to get propaganda. But in the U.S., there's it's just free propaganda all the time.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Indeed, the reactionary character of the post-reform epoch was exposed immediately after the law of 1864, reforming our judicature.
Okay, let me read. Hold on. Lenin's note. In their polemics in the legal press, by legal press he means press that was allowed by the Tsar that had their stamp. Lenin ran an illegal press because he was not allowed by the Tsar, of course. And he often treats a legal press the same way we treat MSNBC. In their polemics in the legal press against reactionaries, the liberal advocates of trial by jury often categorically deny its political significance and endeavor to show that they favor participation of public representatives in the courts for reasons other than political. This may partly be explained by the lack of ability on the part of our jurists to think politically to a logical conclusion, notwithstanding their specialization in political science. He puts the quote on political. But chiefly it is to be explained by the necessity to speak in Aesopian language, by their impossibility openly to declare their sympathies for a constitution.
Hey, that Aesopian language stuff, that like paid off, because that's the reason we have the whole frog and scorpion parable.
Yeah, that came sometime in early, like around 1917 in Russia. The scorpion. And
the first instance of it in writing is 1933.
In Russia, okay. So the scorpion and the frog is the idea that the frog wants the scorpion wants the frog to take him across the river, but then the frog says, "Hey, if I do that, you're gonna bite me, and then we'll both die." And the scorpion says, "No, because we'll both die. I'm not that stupid." But then the scorpion can't take it anymore, and then he ends up biting the frog, and then they both die. And then the frog, right before he drowns, he asks the scorpion, "Why did you do this? Now we're both going to die." And the scorpion says, "It's in my nature."
Oh, and also he dances on the frog's back like the whole way down.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Orson Welles is credited with bringing the that parable to the West in Mr. Arcady. Like, it's in a monologue he gives, because it's Orson Welles and that's what he does. But and you know, it's funny because I was taught that parable in school, and they explicitly told us it was an Aesop fable. They did not say it came from Russia in the early 20th century. They straight up told a bald-faced lie that it was an Aesop fable, but like, I mean, it fits. It sounds like every other Aesop fable. Like,
And
Yeah.
I only found out it was actually Russian like in the last couple of years from probably you guys.
Yeah,
You know what I
and
mean?
yeah, but and the really the thing is that our theory is that it's to explain to people like why you need to get rid of the kulaki.
yeah, pretty much. So, like, I mean, if it first showed up in, I actually think its first instance in writing in 1930 wasn't even in Russian. It was actually in German, but it does originate in Russia. Pretty much everyone agrees on that. But like, but if it first showed up in writing in like the early 30s, then like it probably almost certainly came about between like say like 1905 and 1923,
Okay,
somewhere in that range.
one small deviation. And now that we're talking about kulaks and managers, the most chatliest thing that Stalin's ever done is in April 1932. He opened the complaints bureau for the Soviet Union, and I swear it's him saying, "Oh my God, you don't like how I'm cracking down on your kulaki grandpa? Well, complain to my manager, the people." I didn't notice. I didn't notice it until I checked the date. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what he's doing. He was like so low key trolling.
He didn't put out a big box that they could just write it down.
No, you open the complaints bureau where you can go complain to whoever you want.
Okay. The absence of trial by the street, in quotes, was markedly felt in this particular case. Who in the court that tried this case could have been interested in its social aspect? And who would have sought to bring it out prominently? The public prosecutor, the official who is closely connected with the police, who shares responsibility for the detention of the prisoners in the manner in which they are treated, who in certain cases is actually the chief of police.
Well, this makes. I mean, this is literally today in the U.S. Exactly. This is why the prosecutor brings up zero, literally almost very close to zero charges of police brutality.
Right.
Okay.
We have seen that the assistant prosecutor even withdrew the charge of torture against Panov. The civil plaintiff in the event that Vozdukova.
Vazduh means, let me share. Vazduh means air in Russian. So his name was Vazduhov, and this is his wife, Vazduhova.
All right. The widow of the murdered man and a witness at the trial, had put in a civil claim against the murderers. But how was this simple woman to know that it was permissible to bring a civil claim for damages before the criminal court? But even had she known it, would she have been able to retain a lawyer?
And this is exactly another problem, is that it's like just when you are, you can bring in civil cases, but then what happens is that there's this one perhaps predatory law firm somewhere in South Carolina that does a lot of these cases where they just like take a lot of the money. But then most people are unable to retain a lawyer in order to sue the police or whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So like you're too poor, then you're not getting a lawyer to take your case. And even if she had been able to do so, could a lawyer have been found who was willing to call public attention to the state of affairs brought to light by this murder? And even such a lawyer had been, and even if such a lawyer had been found, would his civic zeal, in quotes, have been supported by such delegates, in quotes, of the public as the representatives of the socialist states? Picture to yourself. Yep, go ahead.
So the way it was in Tsarist Russia is that each social estate got like basically half the seats were reserved for like nobles or whatnot, and like inbred cousins of the Tsar.
Yeah.
So if you were not a part of that blooded hereditary aristocracy, it's not like you would not kind of even get a seat at the table.
Yeah. Yep. Picture to yourself a rural district elder. I have in mind a provincial court. Embarrassed in his rustic clothes, not knowing what to do with his rough peasant hands, awkwardly trying to conceal his feet encased in grease-top boots, gazing with awe upon His Excellency, the president of the court, who is seated on the same bench with him. Or imagine a city mayor, a fat merchant, breathing heavily into his unaccustomed livery with his chain of office round his neck, trying to ape his neighbor, a marshal of the nobility, a gentleman in the nobleman's uniform, who looks sleek and well tended with aristocratic manners. By his side are judges, men who have gone through the hard grind of the school of bureaucracy, genuine functionaries who have grown gray in the service and are filled with a consciousness of the importance of the duty they have to fulfill, to try representatives of the authorities whom the street is not worthy to try. Would not this scene dampen the ardor of the most eloquent lawyer? Would it not remind him of the ancient aphorism, neither cast ye your pearls before?
Yeah, so he's saying that if you're like trying to try police officers with like, okay, this is a lot like the U.S. Supreme Court. It doesn't even matter any court in the U.S. where, yeah, where you just have like, I guess the unofficial gentry. It's going to kind of embourgeoify their work.
Well, so like the legal system, these lawyers that like ostensibly would be there as a a system of checks and balances on excesses of law enforcement, see themselves as tied to law enforcement as like some sort of like brethren, really. So like the prosecutors don't like to bring charges against cops because they rely on cops to bring them evidence to make their cases, to keep their conviction rates up, which gets their boss reelected, which means they still get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then exactly, and then police unions pump lots of money into prosecutors' re-election bids too.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey Matt, I'll do the next little paragraph, and then you want to take over after that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so it happened that the case was rushed through at express speed, as if all concerned were eager to get it off their hands as quickly as possible. Do you want
Let
to
me read the footnote. No one, however, thought of bringing the case to trial quickly. Despite the fact that the case was remarkably clear and simple, it was not tried until January 23rd, 1901, although the crime had been committed on April 20th, 1899. A speedy, just, and merciful trial. This is Lenin being sarcastic, of course.
As if they feared to rake too thoroughly in the muck. One may get accustomed to living near a cesspool and not notice the foul odors emanating from it. But as soon as an attempt is made to cleanse it, the stench assails the nostrils, not only of the inhabitants of the particular street, but also of those of the neighboring streets.
And I feel like this is like the fish getting used to being in water, or what the frog getting hot, lobster hot heat. I don't know, one of those metaphors.
Which is not true, by the way.
What?
If you like put a frog in water and like slowly raise the temperature, that it'll jump out, or like won't jump out because it won't notice. But if you throw it like right in the boiling water, it'll just jump right out. Like, no, if you throw a frog in boiling water, you will kill that frog. Okay. Haven't you ever seen that Glenn Beck clip?
No.
Oh, he straight up killed a frog on live television. Like, because he didn't like, Google this shit.
Okay, let me look at this. Now I'm curious. Okay, can somebody find this clip and we'll play it at the end if he killed a frog on live television?
Oh, he did.
Okay, I'll search for that clip and you can.
Okay, yeah, I'll take over reading. Okay. Just think of the number of questions that naturally arise and that no one has taken the trouble to clear up. Why did Vozdukov go to the governor? Vozdukov Why did Vazdukhov go to the governor? The indictment, the document which embodied the effort of the prosecuting authorities to disclose the crime, not only failed to reply to this question, but deliberately obscured it with the statement that Vazdukhov was detained in a state of intoxication in the courtyard of the governor's house by the policeman Shelemetyev?
Shelemetyev. Okay.
Yeah,
What I really
Shelemetyev.
here's a good
Yeah.
example of Lenin like catering to his audience of barely literate peasants because he explains what an indictment is. He writes the indictment and then he explains what it is. So I have to always tell people who are literate in the US to have patience and read it, and that Lenin usually explains everything you need to know in order to understand it.
Yeah, you know what I really hate from like having like from like starting to like have studied like Russian and like learned the alphabet and all that and being able to like read it phonetically is now I can't read Russian names for shit in the Latin alphabet, but like if I saw them like
Yeah,
in Russian, I'd be able to get it because like I know exactly what this Shelemetyev name would look like in Cyrillic, but it looks so weird and
exactly.
unpronounceable
That's
in
that's why
English.
I know it's Vazduhov is because I checked the Russian version
Yeah,
of it.
the KH looks like the X in Cyrillic, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. No, no, but
and that's
I
like
mean, but
yeah, and that's like the Russian version of like the phlegm consonant with like but not as wet.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so that's why I know it. And yeah, I check all the names in the Cyrillic text before I start for that reason.
Yeah.
I'll send
Uh,
it next time. I'll send it to you beforehand. And then there's a name that's coming up, and that guy's name is called Petitsa, means a bird, and so Petitsin means son of a bird.
okay, and that so like it is a separate consonant there because I was gonna ask about that like how to because like I know in Greek when you see like the PT you just say the T and
Yeah,
like Russian's surprisingly Greek adjacent like so but here it's Petitsin like
that
you say both
yeah, like Putin, Petitsin.
Petitsin all right
Mhm.
cool so where was I okay it It even gives ground for the assumption that Vazdukhov was brawling. And where do you think? In the courtyard of the governor's house. In actuality, Vazdukhov drove up to the governor's house in a cab in order to lodge a complaint.
He
This
means a
fact
horse
was
carriage, by the way, just so you guys know, with cab,
right.
not a cab. Okay.
But he does say cab. Like, what's the Russian word for that?
I'll check that. Oh, read on and I'll check it.
Uh, drove up in a cab in order to lodge a complaint. This fact was established. What did he go to complain about? Petitsin, the superintendent of the governor's house, stated that Vazdukhov had complained about the refusal of a steamship booking office to sell him a ticket. Parenthetically, question mark. You went all the way to the governor's house for this, bro. Like, all right.
Hey, I did find a clip and I sent it over to the private, Esha.
Okay.
But they're also claiming that he didn't really do it. But then there's a clip of him pulling out the frog and then
yeah, the problem with the claims that he
in.
didn't the problem with the claims that he didn't really do it is that there's video evidence of him doing it.
Pulling out a frog and put like I watched the and he puts it in the pot. So yeah, and then
like
everyone's like,
you can actually see his bowels empty themselves on live television. It's really impressive.
Okay, I will do this as soon as we finish. Wait, what was the question you wanted me to check the Cyrillic text for again? I forgot.
Oh, I just wanted to see what word they used
cab.
to mean cab or carriage.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Because that just seems weird in English, like to call it a cab. I've never heard anyone do that, like in reference to a horse-drawn carriage.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just call it a carriage. But I mean, that's like where the word car comes from, you know.
Well, unless it was, I mean, what's the whole thing? Because the taxi cab, they have to hold a license. It's just like they did back then. So maybe he hired one. So maybe that's why they're
maybe it refers to a cabinet because, like, as in it was like enclosed rather than like an open carriage.
Hold on.
this is completely irrelevant in like every possible way to the subject at hand, but I just like really want to know.
I know you get stuck on something and then you like.
Okay, you keep reading, and this is a long piece, so I'm trying to find where it is. Okay.
It's the fourth line.
No, I know where it is. You keep reading. I'm trying to translate it into Cyrillic and finding the in Russian.
The witness. The witness Mukhanov, formerly inspector of the station in which Vazdukhov was assaulted, and now governor of the provincial prison in Vladimir, stated that he had heard from Vozdukhov's wife that she and her husband had been drinking, and in that Nizhny they had been beaten up in the river police station, and in the oh God, why did they italicize this? And in the Rozdestvensky, sorry everybody, I'm dyslexic, and when stuff goes
Rozdestvensky.
Okay, thank you. When stuff goes from like regular to italic, it really fucks me up. All right, Rozdevs, that R word police station, and that Vozdukhov had gone to the governor to complain about this. Notwithstanding the fact that the witnesses obviously contradicted each other, the court did not make the slightest attempt to clear up the matter. On the contrary, one has every reason to conclude that the court did not wish to clear up the matter. Vozdukhov's wife gave evidence at the trial, but no one took the trouble to ask her whether she and her husband had really been assaulted in several Nizhny police stations, under what circumstances they had been arrested, in what premises they had been assaulted, and by whom, whether her husband had really wished to complain to the governor, and whether he had mentioned his intention to anyone else. Most likely the witness Petitsin, an official in the governor's office, was not inclined to accept complaints from Vozdukhov, who was not drunk, but whom, nevertheless, it was necessary to make sober! ! Against the police, and ordered the intoxicated policeman Shalemetyev to take the complaint to the police station to be sobered up. The complainant to the police station to be sobered up. But this interesting witness was not cross-examined. The cabbie Krynov, who had driven Vozdukhov to the governor's house and was subsequently to the police station, was not questioned as to whether Vozdukhov had told him why he was going to the governor, as to what he had said to Petitsin, and whether anybody else had heard the conversation. The court was satisfied merely to hear the brief written affidavit of Krynov, who did not appear in court, which testified that Vozdukhov had not been drunk, but only slightly intoxicated, and the assistant prosecutor had not even taken the trouble to subpoena this important witness. If we bear in mind that Vozdukhov, a sergeant in the Army Reserve, and consequently a man of experience who must have known something about law and order, had said even after the fatal blows, quote, "I am going to lodge a complaint," end quote, it appears more than likely that he went to the governor to lodge a complaint against the police, that Petitsin lied to shield the police, and that the servile judges and the servile prosecutor did not wish to bring this delicate story to light.
Yep, and this is exactly what happens in the U.S. too. Like police lie all the time, and they just can get away with it.
I like how he does like the projection thing there. He's like intoxicated policeman, and then this guy's not. So they're saying that he's intoxicated, but he's only, a couple of beers.
Okay, so it uses he doesn't actually.
Yeah, you know that myth that.
Hold on, let me explain with it. In Russian, if you say if you use the verb hadit, it means you walked, and if you use the word yehat, it means you used some sort of wheeled device. So they don't say he went in a cab, but Lenin said he yehat, which he says priyehat, which means he arrived using a wheeled vehicle.
Okay, so like was driven would probably just be a better way.
Well, because he talks about the cabbie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they must, I don't know, it must be something like the livery driver is what they. So maybe they're just using cabbie. I mean, I don't know.
Russian has like 100 words to go, depending on the mode of transportation you use, whether you go direction or whether you go back.
I was about to say, like, from like reading this, like, you know, that, like, that myth that like the Inuit have 150 words for snow. I think the Russians have like 150 words for different levels of intoxication. Like,
Yeah, there's vipit, piani. Vipit means you are. V means you have finished drinking. Piani means you are completed.
what is the least used Russian word?
No, piani means you're just like drunk like that, like that.
Uh,
And then piot. So there are about 100 different words for it. But the word for go also Russian has 100 different. So поехать means you used a wheeled vehicle and you went for a little while. Доехать means I forgot.
yeah. So like what they're anyway. Back to this paragraph I just read. So like what I'm reading here is like regarding these witnesses. Like depending on who you're talking to, the guy was either completely sober or totally wasted, depending on what's more convenient to the person you're talking to in the moment.
Exactly.
Okay, that is because that does seem to be what they're saying here. I just wanted to get that.
So the idea probably was not drunk. He was just angry that he wasn't given like a ticket to somewhere.
Yeah, like I don't know. It sounds like
he wanted to buy a ticket somewhere that he didn't get.
It's like when I was.
He wanted to get a ticket for a steamship, and then they didn't sell it to him.
Yeah, it sounds like he had, like, if anything, like he had just enough vodka in him to get into a cab and go complain to the manager.
It's like the time that I got arrested for punching the officer, and it was an assault and drunk and disorderly, and I'm like, I'm not drunk, I'm just disorderly.
Yeah,
like no. Like that.
It's like I love that. Like, yeah, I'm not drunk and disorderly. This is my best.
Yeah.
Put that on the ticket. No, I love that. Okay, so further, why was Vozdukhov beaten? Again, the indictment presents the case in a manner most favorable ... to the accused. The quote motive for the torture, unquote, it is alleged, was the cutting of Sheremetyev's hand when he pushed Vozdukhov into the soldiers' lockup. The question arises, why was Vozdukhov, who spoke calmly both with Sheremetyev and with Panov, pushed, parenthetically, assuming that it was really necessary to push him, not into the common cell, but first into the soldiers' lockup. He had been brought to the station to be sobered up. There were already a number of drunkards in the common cell, and later on Vozdukhov was put into the common cell. Why then did Sheremetyev, after introducing him to Panov, push him into the soldiers' lockup, evidently for the purpose of beating him? In the common cell, there were a number of people, whereas in the soldiers' lockup, Vozdukhov would be alone, and Sheremetyev could call to his aid his comrades, and Mr. Panov, who was, quote, in charge of police station number 1 at the time. Consequently, the torture was inflicted not for some chance reason, but deliberately and with forethought.
What I want to say is, like, so I kick you and I hurt my foot like that. So now I can beat you up because you made me hurt my foot because I kicked you.
Oh yeah, the cops love doing that. Like they'll beat the living shit out of you and then send you the bill for dry cleaning the blood off their uniforms, like literally.
Yeah, they're psychos like that.
And
I've been having some like mystery Crimean tea, which I have no idea what's in it, but I bought it today because the lady said it'll help me relax and sleep, and now I'm feeling giggly and happy, and I really don't have any idea what's in this Crimean tea. But this is the Crimean tea. God knows what's in it.
Yeah, I don't like. Well, like, you know, like there's like weird things like that go on in like Asian countries. Like they'll talk to you about how like you know like, oh, marijuana is like some combination between heroin and meth that turns people into mindless flesh-eating zombies that like also never stay awake. But like here's this tea that's sold openly next to preschoolers that's basically nothing but mushrooms. Like, this is fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Like I said, I always go to this like mystery babushka who makes mystery tea whenever I need to relax, and I don't know what's in it.
yeah, just the woman who lives like right next to the guy that says it's dangerous to go alone and gives you the sword. Like,
But let me go get some more hot water for this tea.
okay.
Continue to read, Matt, though. Okay.
Okay. Now where was I before we were talking about the mushroom tea?
You were at like we can assume one of two.
Okay. We can assume one of two things. Either that all who are taken to the police station for sobering up, even when they behave themselves decently and quietly, are first put into the soldiers' lockup to be, quote, taught a lesson, unquote, or that Vazdukhov was put in there precisely for the reason that he had gone to the governor to lodge a complaint against the police. The newspaper reports of the trial are so brief that one hesitates to express oneself categorically in favor of the second hypothesis, which is not at all improbable. But the preliminary investigation and the court examination could have cleared this point up beyond any doubt. It stands to reason that the court did not pay any attention whatever to this. I say, quote, it stands to reason, unquote, because the difference of the court reflects not only bureaucratic formalism, but the simple point of view that the Russian man in the street, quote, what is there to make a fuss about? A drunken mujik was killed in a police station. Worse things than that happen. And the man, so like there's your he was no angel headline. And the man in the street begins to relate scores of incomparably more revolting cases in which the culprits have gone scot-free. The remarks of the man in the street are absolutely just. Nevertheless, his attitude is absolutely wrong, and by his arguments, he merely reveals his extreme Philistine short-sightedness. Are not incomparably more revolting cases of police tyranny possible in our country only because this tyranny is the common everyday practice in every police station? And is not our indignation impotent against these exceptional cases because we, with customary indifference, tolerate the, quote, normal, unquote, cases? Because our indifference remains unperturbed, even when a customary practice like an assault upon a drunken or allegedly drunken mujik in a police station rouses the protests of this very mujik, who ought to be accustomed to this sort of thing, of this very mujik, who paid with his life for his most impertinent attempt to submit a humble petition to the governor.
I think like him using exceptional cases, like it only happens every once in a while, is like different. That might be different. I don't think they're very exceptional in the United States.
Yeah,
no, they're not even
well, he's saying that they're not even really that exceptional here. Like he's saying, he's saying like, you know, like your defense against this terrible thing is that, well, we do worse things all the time. Like,
oh my god, this is like the worst. I've seen liberals do this all kind of defense all the time. Like when you complain about drone strikes and they're like, it's better than carpet bombing like we did in Japan. It's like, no, that's
well, what's your fucking point there, bro?
What's the meaning with
this genocide is more polite than that other genocide we did.
Yeah, this is better than
the meme of the couple with the baby, and then they're dropping bombs, and like, yeah, but these drones were from women, you know. Women.
Yeah, they say the next drones will be sent by a woman.
Yeah. By the way, Nomo Papo says apparently the ancient Maya would drink shrooms in their melted hot chocolate.
Oh, nice. That sounds like a good combination. It's like everybody I know out here, when you buy shrooms, they always come in like little chocolate form.
We get that chocolate mushroom.
Yeah.
Well, you know, whatever makes a toxic fungus go down easy.
Well, okay, I don't even know what. And when I look at the ingredients, it says grass, travi, which means grass.
Oh, what?
That's what the ingredients to this tea is. Travi.
Well, yeah, that sounds legit on the up and up. My eyebrow didn't raise at all to this tea that contains grass. Whatever the fuck that means. Like what, from like someone's lawn?
I don't know. No, it's from Krim, which is the Crimea.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
okay. So Crimean grass, like just grass,
That's making me giggle.
grass.
What's in the grass in Crimea?
I don't know.
Uh,
I really don't know. This is all the ingredient says is grass.
wow, that's incredible. It's like I am racing to put that in my body urgently. Like,
I already did because the grandma said it's gonna help me relax.
it sounds like she was right. Like, I'm calming down already.
You seem very anxious about this. So you're thinking I should not like trust random babushkas with tea shots, right?
If I don't know every story I was ever told as a child, like no, you should not trust like random old women that you meet on the street who give you like little bags of things like tea, magic beans, are like seeking refuge in like the middle of the night because like they might be some weird enchant. I always felt so bad for the Beast in the Beauty and the Beast because like that kid did everything he was supposed to. You're not supposed to let strangers in off the street into your house to sleep over when you're an unaccompanied minor. Like,
Yeah.
like he did exactly what kids are supposed to do. And he was turned into a weird buffalo tiger for all his life. Like, thank
Yeah.
God for Stockholm syndrome, or else he'd be fucked.
Yeah.
And like they made the sequel. He was a beast again. He didn't even unbeast. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
But okay, so
Tomorrow
Bazooka
night,
was
hold on. Tomorrow night, I'll also drink some whatever this tea is and see if it's just tonight that I'm feeling a little relaxed or if it has some weird properties.
okay. So like the word for the stream next week is discorporate. It means to leave your body.
I can do that.
Okay.
Everybody needs to look up that song by the Mothers of Invention,
Okay.
like urgently. By the way, that's a great song. And
Continue.
all right. So okay, where we left off, we had just confirmed that Vazdukhov was pretty much beaten to death by the cops for trying to complain to the manager.
Yeah.
So okay, there is another reason why we must not ignore this all too common case. It has long been held that the preventative significance of punishment is not in its severity, but in its inevitableness.
Yes.
Inevitability. Who put that
He
word
is
there?
absolutely right. It's like it doesn't matter if you're like really cruel to like 1 in 100 people. It's the idea that if you let people who are psychotic police officers go, like if they don't think they're gonna get caught, you're right. Like
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's like something really stupid, like having to fill out a form 100 times, that is much more effective than like.
I also want to slap whoever did this translation and use the word inevitableness instead of inevitability. Like,
Okay.
where, like, do you even English, bro? Like, seriously. All right.
No,
What
because
is?
he used the bez asta. Okay, he used the in he yeah he.
Yeah.
These are
Okay.
all-
Here's
these are all
here's
gonna
okay. Here's an example that I was using talking to a friend of mine. It was about like what you call the primitive Irish language, quote unquote, the primitive Irish language. But like it doesn't matter. Here's the example. In German, there is a phrase "gleich und gleich gesellt sich gern," and what this phrase means in English literally is "same and same are gladly joined." But if you're translating that, having not been kicked in the head by a horse, you would say birds of a feather flock together. All right. So this is the concept. This is the concept of how you should translate things. So even if like a 1-to-1 translation would be inevitableness, inevitableness is not something that is said in English by humans. Like we use the word inevitability. It just looks weird, bro. Okay, so
I always think of this like, I mean, first of all, obviously, it's like someone from the UK that did the translation because we get all the UK spellings for like color and stuff like that. But it also like when was it translated? Because maybe they did use that word. Like, do we need to retranslate everything? Probably.
Well, like I would definitely retranslate Lenin, just because when I read it, I would and I think, hey, if I were to do this, I would retranslate it.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. I mean, some of these Russian translations that like I can tell reading the English without even seeing the Russian that shit has been mistranslated because like
Oh
there's
my
no
God,
way.
yes, Matt, once he called me at 7 a.m. because he was looking up the Crimean Tatars thing in 1944, and he realized it had been mistranslated because they had used the word banish as opposed to like some legalistic term.
The word they use in Russian like the only possible translation is eviction. Like
Exactly.
they went out of their way to put banished in there, and
Like
it jumped
some sort of fairy tale.
yeah exactly. No,
yeah,
it jumped out of me. It jumped out at me because like I'm reading this and like this in English is all like very dry
yeah,
legalese,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden I get to like a 15th century edict that that the Tatars shall be banished henceforth from the land. Like,
Yeah.
no, there's no way that says that in Russian. Like that is
And
so
it,
out there. It's completely out of place.
what it
And
Well,
was
the
really like
Stalin.
they had given them, it was a lot like the eminent domain, except they had given them
yeah,
like
it was
extra
a
animals.
very
No, they had given them extra animals and extra like
yeah,
farms and
yeah.
stuff.
It was a very bog standard eminent domain thing wrapped around like I guess what you could call reparations, like basically it was sorry your dad was a dick and deserted. Here's a goat.
No, I'm sorry that your
Like,
dad was a dick and actually fought on the side of the Nazis.
well, not all of them. Some of them just like hung because like if you deserted the Red Army at that point, the only thing that you were going to do is join up with the German army, and good luck with that being a Tatar because like I don't know if you've ever Googled that, but they ain't white passing. Or you hung out with the banditti in the hillside. So like I mean you had two options, and it was basically like who found you wandering in the woods first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about the translations. Like I remember doing that. We were doing the Stalin piece, right, Esha?
Yeah.
And it was like every sentence. However, like it was the same word, and I'm like,
Stalin. Here I have
He didn't have like the same.
Stalin writes like a drum solo. Like you have like the way he does it, it's really weird. You have like this core like 4-measure loop, and as it goes on, like you'll get different fills and variations on this core theme and structure, but it always like returns.
Yeah, but the translation was using the same word over and over, and he
yeah. Well, Stalin does
I
like
looked it up, and he was not
yeah.
using that same word over and over.
Oh no, but I could still see like it would be like why like somebody would end up translating Stalin like that, because like it's really like he speaks in like a very like Lego like way.
Oh my
like,
God, he's all nose. His speech is really like does not match his personality at all.
No. Like the man was a horrible public speaker. Like
Yeah,
I mean, the dude like he visibly hated it. The dude would like stop. There's a non. Yeah, I was just about to. There's a non-zero number of clips out there where he just stops a speech, pours a shot, does a shot, and continues speaking. He like always sounded like he would rather be like anywhere other than just giving a speech. Did not like it. Much better writer than
his Moscow 1941 quote unquote speech was like him reading it without making any eye contact.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Even like his last speech on the floor of the Supreme Soviet,
just, like rolling his eyes and
he's got this big line like "Long live the peace between peoples, down with the arsonists of war." That's something that like you should be like saying in the back of your throat, like raising your arms in victory. And the dude like shrugs it off and is like, "Long live the peace between peoples, down with the arsonists of war," and then like just shrugs and like saunters off casually. It's the most anticlimactic thing. Like,
yeah,
it's like you're Stalin, bro.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, very powerful historical figure, very unauthoritative, dare I say, public speaker. Like, really
Yeah.
quite an interesting thing.
Exactly.
And you know, it's interesting that, like, when you consider, like, the how popular he was, like, especially like in his time, and like even now he's still like always comes in like top 3 most like popular Russian leaders of the past in like any poll that's done.
He
And
always comes in either ahead of Lenin or right next to Lenin.
yeah, Stalin's usually number 2, and like number 1 is usually like, you know, like some asshole that like briefly successfully repelled the Mongol horde. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
like,
it's like Ivan the Grey from the 1500s or something
yeah,
like that.
like some guy, like, it's like,
Even no, I want to know. Ivan the Grey is not an asshole. I would say like the West hated him because he was like he was pretty mean to Westies.
yeah, it's like, you know,
I don't know why
I
he's
just
gray
don't like
though.
monarchs, like, as a
Okay,
general
but this
rule.
is like I don't know why he's called Ivan the Grey.
Did he have white hair?
Ah, that makes sense. Okay.
Like, well, okay, wow, it's like, you know, that was just like my first thought. Like, you know,
I
he
was
was,
like thinking a lot, like why are they calling Ivan the Grey? And I'm like, oh, now it makes sense. Why would they call him Ivan the Grey?
yeah, okay, there you go. Okay, where did?
We were at the governor, something with the governor. Governor, there's a auto comment.
Okay, what?
Inevitableness. What is
Okay,
important? I can read.
okay, yeah.
I think
What?
the tea has helped. I'm capable of reading.
Oh wait, I wanna say this. I just looked it up,
Yeah.
and there's actually a story about Ivan and a gray wolf.
Okay, that was
Ah,
going to
There's a
be, but that was
fairy
going to be my
tale.
other thing. I was going to ask about that. What kind of wolves are in Russia?
okay.
Yeah.
So he fought a gray wolf. Is that why he's called him?
I don't know what the story was, but it's a fairy tale, a Russian fairy tale about a
Oh,
gray
I can
wolf
ask my
and a
teacher to read
firebird.
it to me. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Look, I can read it now that I'm relaxed.
There's also a phrase that refers to, like, that basically translates to the gray, that like refers to your visibility in a blizzard.
Okay. It
Yeah,
has
so
okay. What is, let me read it. I'm capable of that. What is important is that it is not that a crime shall be severely punished, but that not a single crime shall pass undiscovered. From this aspect, too, the present case is of interest. Illegal and savage assault is committed in police stations in the Russian Empire. It may be said without exaggeration daily and hourly. 5. Let me read Lenin. These lines were already written when the press brought another confirmation of the correctness of this assertion. At the other end of Russia, in Odessa, a city enjoying the status of a capital, a magistrate acquitted a certain Mr. Klinkov, who had been charged by the station sergeant Sadukov with disorderly conduct while under arrest in the police station. At the trial, the accused and his 4 witnesses testified to the following. Sadukov arrested M. Klinkov, who was in a state of drunkenness, and took him to the police station. When he became sober, Klinkov demanded to be released, upon which the policeman grabbed him by the collar and began to punch him. 3 other policemen arrived at the scene, and the 4 of them fell upon him, striking him in the face, on the head, the chest, the sides. Under the rain of blows and covered with blood, Klinkov fell to the floor, whereupon the policemen assaulted him with even greater fury. According to the evidence of Klinkov and his witnesses, this torture was inflicted at the instigation and with the encouragement of Sadukov. As a result of the blows he received, Klinkov lost consciousness. Reviving, he was immediately released from the police station. Immediately on his release, he went to be examined by a physician. Magistrate advised Klinkov to lodge a complaint with the prosecutor against Sadikov and the policeman, to which Klinkov replied that he would already had done so and that he would bring 20 witnesses. One need not be a prophet to foretell that M. Klinkov will fail to get the policeman brought to trial and punishment for torture. They did not actually beat him to death, but if contrary to expectation they are prosecuted, they are sure to get off lightly. Um, and only upon rare and very exceptional cases are brought in court. This is not in the least surprising, since since the criminals are the very police in Russia who are charged with the duty of disclosing crime. These circumstances compel all of us to devote compel us to devote all the greater, if unusual, attention to those cases in which the courts are constrained to raise the curtain that conceals such habitual facts. And this is exactly true in the US also, in that, yeah, only exception, like if it's like there's been like a handful of cases, like there's Tyranny, how do you pronounce his name?
Tyree.
Ty Nichols, George, and all of them were like bright on video, like it's so that everyone saw, and it was like so outrageous, is to the point where it's like five and daily occurrences by the police go unpunished, and this is the same thing, because in fact, making the police fill out long papers, long forms every time they do an. If every police officer had to fill out a long, annoying form every time he did an assault, I bet you that would like uh make it less than trying like one police officer every 5 years or whatever it happens.
Oh yeah, no, probably, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, this is apropos of absolutely nothing. I was looking up why Ivan the Grey was called Ivan the Grey, and instead I accidentally stumbled upon a Soviet mathematician who, I'm not shitting you, is named Ivan Ivanovich Ivanov. This motherfucker's name is John, son of John Johnson.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, continue. I just had to let everybody know about that.
Okay. And if somebody else knows in the future why he's called Ivan the Great, please tell us.
No, I will finish my quest to find that. But like, I just had to let everybody know there was a motherfucker named Ivan Ivanovich Ivanov.
Okay. Oh, remember, there was this one guy who claimed that the Soviet Union were giving anti-Semitic by making Jews have harder math problems.
Okay, so something I came up with, that I came upon is you have Tsarevich Ivan, the Firebird, and the Gray Wolf.
Ah,
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
is that a fairy tale or is that a real story?
it's a fairy tale,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
like, you know, like they all have like some, you know, at least tangential connection to reality.
Okay.
Like that's kind of the point.
But yeah, I was just like saying, remembering this guy who literally claimed that the Soviet Union was anti-Semitic by giving Jews harder math problems, which sounds like the most absurd thing on the face.
Yeah, that's wow.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
yeah, we're preserving the Yiddish language, so just specifically so we can keep you around to tell you how much we hate you.
no, not even that. Just giving you harder math problems.
Oh yeah, no, like I'm being oppressed with my bilingual education. That's always like one of my favorites.
And on top of that, there's no proof. Like it seems like everyone had the same math problems. They just gave them like there were 10 questions that you could give during the oral exam, and they just like gave them at random.
Yeah, like
But
the Soviets like were oppressing Jews by giving them math problems, and like that is like as opposed to like, you know, oppressing Jews by like not letting them into school at all.
Or the other alternative, which is way worse.
Yeah, like
But the oral exams is very interesting because yeah, like people here get like literally have to like even every year they literally have to go in front of a teacher, and then the teacher like asks them like, so tell me what a cell is, and then you're like, a cell is like, this is, I'm just pretending in a file like
so I actually can't find any like Russian ruler named Ivan the Grey, but there is Ivan the Great.
Gruz. Okay, hold on.
Gruzny,
I know
right?
Ivan the Great. That's why
Gruzny. I thought Gruzny was gray.
No, that's great.
No, Veliki is great.
This dude's Ivan the Great, Ivan the Third Vasilievich, the Grand Prince of Moscow and the sovereign of all Rus. Ivan served as co-ruler and regent for his blind father Vasily II from the mid 1450s before he officially ascended the throne in 1462.
He could be known differently. He could be known gray in Russian.
No, I think I got
You got it right.
Gruzna. I thought Gruzna meant gray and not great because I thought Velika meant great.
Well, it's probably 5 different. No, there's probably 50 different words for great in Russian.
Okay, I must have gotten my words confused.
Yeah, there and also this there's no grammar in Russian. Like you can just like say whatever you want in any order, so it's easy to
Well,
get
no, but
confused.
if you use if you speak like Yoda, it like gives a fairy tale thing. So in
Yeah,
fairy tales, they'll say like "Park приехал он," which means he came to the park.
yeah. Like so, this guy. So like, who we're thinking of here is Ivan the Third
Okay, Ivan the Third.
officially.
Okay, got it.
I'm looking up at like other titles. So of House Rurik, father Vasily II, mother Maria of Borovsk, Russian Orthodox. Yeah.
Okay.
Mother of Dragons.
Well, yeah, pretty much. His
Oh, yes,
victory.
it is
Oh,
there.
yeah. No, this is definitely the guy. His victory over the Great Horde in 1480 is often cited as the restoration of Russian independence 240 years after the fall of Kiev and the Mongol invasion of Kiev on Rus.
Okay, so wait a minute. The Ukrainians are claiming that Kiev is the original Russia when they fell.
Yeah, no, that's all. Like when it was Kiev on Rus, all the people who lived there were the Rus, and like the this is what pisses me off so much. The idea of a Ukrainian quote unquote like starts in like 1899.
Oh,
Like,
and before then, like the thing is that what I remember is in the 1600s, the Cossacks who live in Ukraine begged the Tsar.
oh yeah, no, they begged to become a protectorate. Like
Yeah.
the idea of, because like one of these things that like they try to pull, and this is bullshit too, and it's like almost an unknowable thing really, that like Ukrainian predates Russian as a language, which is super not true, and like you couldn't prove it if it was, like regardless, like because like basically like Ukrainian, Russian, and Belarusian all break off from Old Slavic
Yeah.
around the same time, like as far as we can tell. Like the earliest, like there's an earlier surviving document written in like old Ukrainian that's older than like the oldest surviving document technically written in Russian, but like the like saying like one is older than the other is like nonsense, because like they broke off at like the same freaking time.
Well, it's like thinking of English, like old, like Shakespeare was writing in English.
Yeah, exactly. But like the thing is like Russian has more in common linguistically with Bulgarian and Polish than it does Ukrainian and Belarusian.
I cannot understand.
Ukrainian and Belarusian have like a surprising amount of mutual intelligibility, much more than Ukrainian and Russian does as a language. But like people get confused about that, because even though like Russian and Polish are so similar, they think of like they're very different, usually just because like Polish uses the Latin alphabet.
Yeah.
But like Russian transliterated looks very much like Polish, like written out in Latin. Like, why is there just the letter V right there in like the middle of a sentence by itself? How the fuck do I say that, man?
That's "va" of in Russian.
Oh yeah, but like it's so weird to see that like randomly, like in Latin, like just like word ends, new word, lowercase v, new word.
But in Russion, you attach it like so you don't actually say it alone. So let's say you.
Oh yeah, no. It's like, but
if you say on Monday, or you say "v понедельник," as in it's like you attach it to that.
Yeah, and it's just like a brief little sound, like almost.
No, but you don't make it. It's not separate. It's like you like понедельник, вторник, среду, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like that.
Yeah, like.
How's your battery, Esha?
I have no idea.
All right. You know what?
Okay, let's continue.
Again.
Oh, let me continue. I'm sorry. I need to figure. Okay. Note. Where I forgot where I was.
Note, for example,
how police perpetrate their assault. 5 or 6 of them together set upon their victim with brutal cruelty. Many of them are drunk. All are armed with swords, but none of them ever strikes the victim with his sword. They are men of experience, and they know how to beat a man. A sword blow leaves a mark of guilt. But try to prove that bruises were made by fists were inflicted by the police, arrested during a brawl in which he was beaten up, and your case isn't worth the straw. Even in the present instance, when the man, as it happened, was beaten to death, the devil tempted him to die. A hefty mujik like that, who would have thought it? The prosecution was obliged to bring witnesses to testify that Vazduhov was absolutely sound in health before he was taken to the police station. Apparently, the murderers, who maintained throughout the trial that they had not beaten the man, stated that they had brought him to the police station in a battered condition. It is an extremely difficult matter to get witnesses to give evidence in a case like this. By a happy chance, the window between the common cell and the soldiers' lockup was not completely curtained off. And true, instead of glass, the panes consisted of sheets of thin tin with holes punched through. And on the side of the soldiers' lockup, these holes were covered up by a leather curtain. By poking a finger through the hole, one could raise the curtain and see what was going on in the soldiers' lockup. Only through this circumstance it was possible at the trial to obtain a picture of the scene of the lesson. But such negligence as improperly curtained windows only exists in the past century. In the 20th century, the little window between the common cell and the soldiers' lockup in the Kremlin police station in number 1 in Nizhny Novgorod is no doubt blocked up. And since there are no witnesses, woe betide the poor fellow who finds himself in the soldiers' lockup. In no country in the world.
I was just gonna say, so basically they're claiming that he was beaten up when they brought him in there already, but people saw them. So if you brought in a person that was so beaten up, wouldn't you take him to like a hospital or not beat him more?
Yeah.
Like I don't know, call me crazy, but
no country in the world is there such a multitude of laws as in Russia. We have laws for everything. There are special regulations in governing the detention and custody, which specifically state that detention is legally permissible only in special premises, subject to special supervision. As you see, the law is observed. In the police station, there is a special common cell, but before a man is put into the common cell, it is customary to shove him into the soldier's lockup. Although the role of soldiers' lockup as a real torture chamber was perfectly clear throughout the trial, the judicial authorities did not even think of paying the matter the slightest attention. Surely the prosecuting attorney cannot be expected to expose the excesses of our brutal police and to take measures against them.
We throw everyone into our murder room first.
Yeah.
They all go into the murder room first.
Yeah. Yesterday I saw this video where this cop was like literally like humping this like 16. You saw that video too, Janet, right?
Oh yeah. He's like pinning her down, but he's like
really disgusting. It looks like it's a sexual assault position.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Like I've not seen this clip.
It's horrible. And he's like, he says she's out of control, but it looks like he's like sexually assaulting her.
Send me that clip.
When I first saw it, Matt, I thought it was a joke, like Reno 911.
Oh, really?
Like I thought it was like a joke.
First.
Well, that's the whole joke is that Reno 911 is not really a joke.
I know that's you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, like I love that. I have that screenshot of Deputy Junior like in lockup when he's got his swastika tattoo like just right out there on his chest. I send that picture to random liberals like most accurately portrayed cop on television.
Yeah,
television like my mouth turned to rubber there.
In Ukraine, actually, every Ukrainian.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, you live in a Nazi country, you're going to see a lot of people with Nazi tattoos.
Yeah, well, my favorite is this one where this guy has this like Hitler neck tattoo, and he said he joined Azov just a month ago, and the interrogator like literally stops and starts laughing hysterically at this lie, because it's so obvious that he did not just join. It's like enough Hitler tattoo.
Well, like even if like he did like just join a month ago, like I mean, you know, that tattoo like took longer than that to put on. Like you were preparing for your audition for a while, bro.
But I was born in '88. I was born in '88. You're only 22 years old.
My favorite one was this clip. The Russians had this Ukrainian soldier captured like on his knees, and like he keeps saying, I'm not a Nazi, and like they take his phone off him and they're like looking through it, and he says like in Russian, what's your passcode? And he just repeats, I'm not a Nazi, to the guy, says, what's your passcode? And they backhand him, and then he says 1488. Like that's to unlock his phone. And then like in the clip they ran the Curb Your Enthusiasm music.
there was a person on TikTok that had like whatever her name in 88. And the person calls them out, like someone goes, okay, you know what 88 means. And they're like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, and then it's a day later. It's like, okay, you haven't changed it.
Yeah, like
Well, the worst is the lady with her dad died, and she was doing a tribute to her dad, and oh my god, her dad was like not just like a Nazi, like her grandpa was like in a picture with Hitler and Goebbels, and he was in Hitler's youth.
Wow.
Yeah, I have it like a reaction
just
to it.
like if you see that episode of It's Always Sunny. Like
No.
their grandfather is like in a coma on his deathbed, and they go through and they're going through his stuff, and they find out that like he was in like a high-ranking official in the Waffen SS, and like he's got like the uniform and everything, and so like they're and it's an episode like, do they let him live or pull the plug on him? It's called Pop the Final Solution. You should really watch that episode.
Okay, what did they just say? Okay, don't spoil. Okay, I guess. Okay, but
we have referred.
Okay. We have referred to this question of witnesses in a case of this kind. At best, such witnesses can only be persons in the hands of the police. Only under most exceptional circumstances would it be possible for an outsider to witness police giving a lesson in a police station. But it is possible for the police to influence the witnesses that are in their hands. And this is what happens in the present case. The witness Frolov, who at the time of the murder was in a common cell, stated during a preliminary investigation that Vozdukov had been assaulted by the policeman and the sergeant. Later, he withdrew his testimony against Sergeant Panov. At the trial, however, he stated that none of the policemen had struck Vozdukov, that he had been persuaded to give evidence against the police by Semachin and Barinov, two other men in the common cell who were principal witnesses for the police, and that the police had not persuaded or prompted him to say this. The witness Fadeyev and Anatova stated that no one had laid a finger on Vozdukov in the soldiers' lockup. Everything had been quiet there and no quarreling had been taken place. As is to be seen, quite the usual thing happened. The judicial authorities behaved with customary indifference. There is a law that provides severe penalties for perjury. A prosecution instituted against two perjurers would throw further light on the outrages the police perpetrate against those who have the misfortune to fall into their hands and are completely defenseless. Hundreds of thousands of common people meet with this misfortune every day. But all that the court is concerned about is applying this or that article of the penal code. It is not in the least concerned about the defenseless. This detail in the trial, like all others, showed clearly how strong and all entangling is the net and how persistent the canker, which can only be removed by abolishing the whole system of police tyranny and the denial of people's rights. About 35 years ago, F.M. Reshetnikov, a well-known Russian writer, met with an unpleasant adventure. One evening, he went to the Assembly of Nobles in St. Petersburg under the mistaken impression that a concert was to be given there. The policeman at the door barred his way and shouted at him, What's this shoving? Who are you?" "A factory hand," roughly replied Reshetnikov, stung to anger by this affront. What followed this reply, as related by Gleb Uspensky, was that Reshetnikov spent the night in the police station, from which he emerged bruised, battered, and bereft of his money and his ring. "I report this matter to your excellency," wrote Reshetnikov in a petition to the St. Petersburg chief of police. "I see no compensation. I may only humbly trouble you with the request that the police officers and their subordinates shall not beat the people, as it is the people who have only sufferings in store for them." The modest request which a Russian writer was bold enough to make to the chief of police of the capital so long ago has not yet been fulfilled, and it cannot be fulfilled as long as the present political system lasts. At the present time, however, every honest man who is tormented by the contemplation of this brutality and violence turns towards the great new movement among the people that is mustering its forces in order to wipe all brutality from the face of the land of Russia and achieve mankind's finest ideals. During the recent decades, hatred for the police has grown immensely and has become deeply rooted in the hearts of the masses of the common people. The development of urban life, the growth of industry, the spread of literacy has all served to imbue even the uneducated masses with the aspirations of a better life and a consciousness of their human dignity. The police, however, have remained as tyrannical and brutal as ever. To their bestiality, we now see added a greater subtlety in their detection and prosecution of the new, most dangerous enemy, i.e., everything that brings to the masses of the people a ray of consciousness of their rights and confidence in their strength. Fertilized by this consciousness and this confidence, popular hatred will find vent, not in savage vengeance, but in the struggle for liberty. Hopefully that will happen here, happen there. I don't. Where is here? There, I don't know.
Well,
Everywhere.
here, there, everywhere. Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, we have a little bit more on our side now because we have cameras,
Mhm.
so we've been able to document a lot of this stuff, but it's not getting better though. Like that's
No.
Well, here's something that like I want to. I've been thinking a lot about this actually, and there's a Kwame Ture quote that people love to like throw around, and that it's his comment on nonviolence. That for nonviolence to work, your enemy has to have a conscience, and the United States has none. Has none. Now, here's the thing about because I don't think like a lot of people understand nonviolence as a tactic. And the tactic of nonviolence is to make your oppressor, your opponent, look like an asshole to an audience. All right.
There is no audience
When
here.
he's saying there, and Kwame Ture understands this now. So what he's saying there, he's not, when he says the United States has no conscience, he's not talking about the state. He's talking about the people who live there, who are watching you be brutalized. That's why nonviolence doesn't work in the United States, because no one living there actually gives a shit. It's founded on the principle of them not caring about the violent oppression of the oppressed.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's also like, I mean, you can take it on the police videos of the deaths and stuff, that even the Black community is like, all right, this is just like porn for you people. You're just watching us be lynched.
yeah,
Okay.
no, I
Yeah.
mean that beating video, like they were saying that like, oh, like, okay, yeah, like they I mean they dropped it like a freaking music video. Like they had like a
It's
media
coming
circus
out.
around it. Like, yeah, no, like my high school, but when I was a teenager, my girlfriend, she lived with her grandparents. Her grandfather would like go on this like constant like it was one of his back pocket tangents that all old people have, and like it was that reality TV was going to be executions one day, just straight up executions.
Yeah.
And like I added to that, like by telling him like, yeah, they call it the news, and like that's straight up what just happened.
Yeah.
And like they're showing you footage of like this fleet of armored cop cars like pouring into like Nashville or basically any majority black city, and like to basically display like this bit of fascist performance art and beat the ever loving shit out of anyone that dared to have a negative reaction to it because of all your freedom of speech.
Yeah, and on top of it, what people don't realize is that the audience in the 1960s was newly decolonized African countries that the US was trying to recolonize through their IMF World Bank.
That were being given free educations in the Soviet Union.
Yeah. So
You know what still stands in Moscow? Patrice Lumumba University.
Yep, Rude, and no, but I'm just saying that there was the audience. That's why the quote unquote some aspects of the civil rights movement worked, because there was an audience that the United States cared not to look like an asshole because of particular political climate at that time, where you can't go to like African countries and you know about this highway that Eisenhower.
Well, no,
Wait, hold on.
like it's just the embarrassing thing that the whole civil rights movement, like basically, like when you look back at it, like way far back, like so much of it was a straight up meme war between the United States and Russia. Like just like the propaganda posters they put out, like they've got like one with like the Statue of Liberty giving a piggyback ride to the like this white cop, while like the base of the statue is this prison cell made of dollar signs.
Hold on, wait, let me just finish this. I was going to tell you about this really interesting highway where they like, you know about this highway that they legalized, made segregation illegal. So
Go on.
Highway 55. So the UN headquarters is in New York, and all the embassies are in Washington. So in 1950 something, whenever Eisenhower was president, there was this
Late
Ghanaian,
50s.
yeah, Ghanaian diplomat who was driving from New York to Washington, and he stopped by some diner, and they would not let him in, and he was like really offended by this. In
Well,
fact, he's
yeah.
like, yeah, and so because of that, Eisenhower created a law where he's like, no, okay, we're gonna integrate this highway because we
That's all
don't
that
want to be
matters.
embarrassed by embarrassed,
Yeah.
and yeah. So, but go on. Yes, it is a meme war, and I have made TikTok videos about all the dank, like all the
Yeah,
Soviet
all
memes.
the dank Soviet memes. Like,
That
yeah,
are
no,
100%
they didn't
accurate.
they didn't fuck around. Like,
No, my favorite is the one where you have all these KKK student like members, and then they have this little kindergartner like walking to school.
yeah. I like the one I really like the one with the Statue of Liberty where like the base is like a prison cell made of dollar signs with black people behind it. Like,
Okay.
yeah, no, that fits.
By the way, here is Glenn Beck killing a frog on TV. Let me see if I can show it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we do this? Wait. Glenn Beck kills a frog on. Okay. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
You guys can see
Yeah,
it. Okay.
I can see it.
Okay. Let me play it then.
Full screen it, please.
Let me explain this to you using this boiling water here and these little frogs. You know the old saying, if you put a frog into boiling water, he's going to jump right out because he's scalding hot. But if you place the frog in lukewarm water and gradually raise the temperature, the frog won't realize what's happening and die. Let me get the frogs. Okay.
Glenn.
All right.
He's
So you
gonna
have the little
murder
frogs. You have the little frogs here. Barack Obama has galvanized the country because of the sheer size of the bills he's proposed and the number of the bills, the urgency that he's been placing on the bills. He's forced us to think and get involved. We have, not like John McCain, been boiled slowly. We have been tossed quickly into boiling water. And don't forget, what happens when you throw them in? When you throw them in, frogs into boiling water? Okay, forget the frog. Okay, I swear I thought they jumped right out, but they don't. Forget about the Republicans, because most of them are fake. Forget about the Democrats, because most of them are fake.
Wow, he really killed a frog on TV.
Because he just didn't check to like no pop-up Jordan Peterson screaming, "Help me!"
No, you gotta get more Kermity on that. It's like, yeah.
I could never do a Kermit impression.
Help me!
Help me! I can't do Kermit. I cannot do Kermit.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh wow, he really kills a frog on TV. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like seriously, like couldn't just Google it, bro. Like this is not a thing. It's like it's a metaphor. It's
frogs.
Yeah, it's a thinking exercise. Like it's not a fucking biology lesson, bro.
Say what they're saying that he didn't really do it. It was just like whatever.
You saw that. You saw him. It was a live broadcast. You saw the frog jump into his hand. There was like one jump from the camera. He would have to have Vegas musician sleight of hand, like Vegas magician sleight of hand skills, like in that less than like 0.12 seconds when like camera 4 jumps to camera 1, like again to replace it with a fake frog. Didn't happen. No. Like,
no, I thought it seemed like he killed a frog on TV.
No, and here's the thing: he had nothing to gain by fucking that up. It doesn't make it makes him look like a dumbass. It wasn't.
Why would yeah? Don't kill frogs on TV. And somebody is right. Commander Cobra. Commander says conservatives think urban legends are fact.
Well,
Yeah,
Aaron LeBrun posted a good point that, like, if you look at Facebook comments, like, you'd be hard pressed to find like a conservative in the United States that doesn't think the Green New Deal is something that exists and has happened.
Oh my God. Yeah, good thing Facebook is banned in Russia. Thank God.
Oh yeah, gee, oh man, a better world is possible, people.
Yeah.
It's like when people like post like videos of like people from the DPRK like wearing like school uniforms next to like weird K-pop cultists in occupied Korea, and like they're saying like the people in the military colony are the free ones because they're like desperately clamoring for any way to individualize themselves in this capitalist hellscape. Like, please, somebody notice me, pay attention to me, love me, anything. Look how short my skirt is.
Well, and then Maran Bang Band has really cute songs like "Let's Study."
I love it when you introduced me to them, but like you had the typo, so it was the Moron Bong Band, which like now that has to be. I was like,
They're my favorite DPRK band. They have really good music, and then they have like really positive songs like "Let's Study" for kids and whatever.
Oh yeah, no, like all the DPRK like stuff I've seen like musically is pretty impressive. Like there's a weird accordion fetish there too.
Yeah, DPRK music is pretty nice and strange, and like there's a lot of modern, like it's really cool. But my favorite is okay. Today CNN like was like upset that there's some like 11-year-old girl from DPRK on YouTube who likes Harry Potter, and it's like that sounds like every other 11-year-old girl.
Yeah, that's like 11-year-old girls are kind of like the target demographic for Harry Potter. Like you're supposed to like Harry Potter when you're when you're a fucking middle schooler. These are books written for middle schoolers.
Exactly. I just don't like it when it's like then you have like newscasters who are 55 who are like.
I'm actually really quite angry to learn that Harry Potter is not banned in the DPRK because those books advocate slavery like 100%.
Okay, yeah, right. But I mean, I guess it's harmless. Yes, they're not banned, so it's not banned in the DPRK.
Yeah, no, it's like goddamn revisionist bastards. Like, I'm kidding. I don't. But no, like I'm thinking about like they leave it out of the movies, thank God. But like in the books, like no, there's like a whole thing like house elves is happy when they slaves. Like it's a whole arc, and like Hermione goes on an anti-slavery campaign, and everybody just laughs at her like, oh, she's so crazy.
I think it's in the movie though. I think that because they have that.
They have the house elf that like gets freed, and then there's like that really creepy looking one that like attaches. Yeah, that like attaches to Harry, but like in the books, it's very explicit that it ends with Harry Potter becoming a slave-owning cop, but he's one of the good ones.
Yeah.
Like that's the end of the books.
Okay, now I'm gonna run out of battery in about like 1 minute. I could put in a spare battery, but in 2 weeks we're gonna have somebody really cool. We're gonna be reading Georgi Dimitrov. Join us next week also.
I will be here.
Hold on. Let me try replacing the battery with the spare battery to see if it works. If not,
if we get disconnected, you can follow me on Twitter at
We're not gonna get disconnected. My video is gonna get popped out. We're gonna be fine. So talk while I replace the battery.
Okay, cool, no problem. So yeah, like anyway, like people like complaining like J.K. Rowling like reveals herself to be this like raging transphobe or whatever. Like she advocates slavery, like through like there's like 7 books in the series. They're all 900 pages long. There's a huge subplot about like Hermione being laughed at for saying slavery is wrong and how like bad things happen to house elves that ain't slaves.
Yeah, I mean, what she should have done in the books is let Hermione, like her whole thing
is simply not
No.
advocate slavery. That's all
Yeah,
you have to do.
like,
It's
oh,
free.
okay, well,
It is
she's
free.
free
It is
now.
free to not advocate slavery. It doesn't cost you nothing. Like no one was asking for
See,
where's
okay,
the
this has
pro-slavery
100%.
club
So I was worrying for no reason.
Oh, okay, cool.
So this battery is 100%.
Awesome.
This battery is 100% charged, so I was worrying
We're
for
on
no
for
reason.
the next 5 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
we
do this.
Come on.
Marathon.
Okay, hold on.
I've got a bottle of caffeine pills right here, like 200
Okay.
milligrams a pop. We can go all day. Like
I
how many?
remember 20, 30 somethings on the train holding up a pair. That is fine if you're reading it on
You
the
remember
train.
that?
The
Yeah, you
problem
remember-
is when you have actual people from the Hillary Clinton campaign.
Yeah. Like
complaining
you
Hillary
remember that?
Clinton
Like it's like an old meme from like when we were still sharing around demotivational posters, but like it was like a group of like Twilight moms holding up the sign, and it says, "If these were 40-year-old men screaming for a 17-year-old girl, the cops would be here."
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like fucking Twilight moms.
You can read any book. The problem is what role the book plays and whether or not, like, if you are an actual grown adult.
Yeah, no, Harry Potter here in the United States is straight up a lens through which a non-zero amount of human fucking beings interpret the world. It's very depressing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Even J.K. Rowling once said Corbin is not Dumbledore, and I'm like, oh God. Yes, what? I know he's not.
Yeah, no, because Corbin's real, and like he never spent like 7 years trying to like have a child murdered. Like, people don't talk about that throughout the whole book. So, like, that's a common thread. Like right up at the end, like at any point, Dumbledore was 100% willing to have Harry Potter die a child.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously we know from his like style of school administration, he's fine if an infinite amount of children die. There's no safety regulations at Hogwarts. But like, you know, every year he opens the school year with a big speech about how we're all in grave danger. The Dark Lords are coming and all of you could die at any moment. There's a giant snake moving through the pipes. Like, these guys can control minds from light years away. Like there's a forest over there that's filled with like a horde of talking spiders the size of SUVs, a goddamn 18-foot mountain troll, like all these things just running around. Like, we're gonna bring in Guillermo del Toro and have like flying sky demons.
You actually remember the Harry Potter?
I know, I can't
much more vividly than I do, actually.
Like, no, like I have this theory, and like I hate to say it because like I hate it when I think the man is like the funniest human being on the planet, and it's completely unintentional. But like Werner Herzog is the one thing I actually agree with what he says is like anything like Harry Potter or those fucking Marvel movies, you know, anything that gets that popular with that many people has to be analyzed to death. Like you can't just like wave off a movie that like, you know, makes or like a franchise that makes like $8 billion, like for people like across the planet in like 17 different languages. Like, you know, you have like, even if it's like the Marvel movie thing, whereas especially the Marvel movie thing, because it's all Pentagon propaganda, and like I really like want to like explore why human beings in the 21st century are still so moved and awe-inspired by like a 3-hour block of color and loud. Like, because that's like all Marvel movies are. It's like it's like they're made with like all the artistic merit of an episode of NCIS. They all look exactly the same. They all follow exactly the same structure. There's no consequence for like fucking anything. Like anything could be retconned at a moment's notice anyway, because they added that multiverse shit. And bear in mind, this is all information that I've picked up without actually watching any of them, because I refuse. But like
I
I
don't have the patience to watch movies because they're
I
so
watched
long.
I watched Iron Man 2 when it came out in theaters because like I was bored that day and like I
The
had some
last
extra.
movie I saw was Beauty and the Beast with my niece on her like young birthday, like a
The
long
live
time
action
ago.
one.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the last movie I've seen. I don't have
The
patience to
last
watch
the last
movies.
movie I went to see in theaters was the Independence Day sequel.
Okay.
And you know what?
I went
Like
to see Harry Potter, the first movie, and
That's like
I
almost
dropped a
20
hit of
years ago.
old acid, and we didn't think it hit.
oh no,
And then
acid doesn't go bad if you keep it dry.
movie.
And then what happened?
I was kind of freaking out at the moment. Well,
Yeah.
no, because I was used to it. So I mean, I was used to the feeling, so it wasn't
Yeah,
too.
yeah. A
I was
Harry
the
Potter
only
movie.
person
A
who
Harry
was
Potter
crying.
movie would not be what I would want to be watching when like the acid kicked in by surprise.
It was kind of funny because we were there with it was like our friends and their son.
Which one was it? If the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, the first one's not that bad. That's the one with like the guy with the back of the talking head. That would not like fuck.
Yeah. No, there's somebody probably. Yeah.
But at least it wasn't the third one. The third one would with the Dementors like that.
Yeah, that would have been horrible.
Yeah, and I think yeah, and I think the Chamber of Secrets is the one that has like the talking spiders or something, like the one where Hagrid goes to Azkaban, like they have to go talk to the spider to like clear his name or something, and then like the car saves them because these movies are kind of weird when you say it all out loud like that.
Okay. Like I said, I don't have as clear of a recollection of everything.
By the way, like nobody why his parent, why like the abusive family they kept sending him back to every fucking year. Like, why didn't he just live with Hagrid?
Because there's like a special, like a blood thingy where he has, Voldemort can't touch him as long as.
No. So like. No, because Harry was one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. So like Harry was a piece. That's why his family was abusive, because being around Voldemort's soul makes you angry and mad and evil, and that's why his family hated him.
On that. Oh, Matt, you're so brilliant on the Harry Potter lore.
Yeah, I do not recall.
Here's the thing. I don't think J.K. Rowling picked up on that. I think that's just something. That's like a total like fucking coincidence that lines up, because J.K. Rowling is not a very good writer, and like
I enjoys having a kid in an abusive situation anyway.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, but that's like that is like a necessary component of all British literature. Like that, if you've got a child protagonist, they gotta be abused like by like the worst fucking parents that ever lived. But the thing is, like, if you want to go to that well, don't leave it up to Roald Dahl. Okay, like he runs that show. Matilda, Willy Wonka, like. Yeah, no, like James and the Giant Peach. Like, no, Roald Dahl owns that. Like, that's the people say like, oh, he's dark. Why is this kid stuff? Like, no. There are children that go from being a child to an adult, and in that span, never once have a positive interaction with a full-grown adult. Like in their lives, like all they talk to are their abusers, their molesters, and their case managers from the age of like 5 to 18. Like, you got to make some stories for them. I love that. Like, oh yeah, his parents were just eaten by a rhino. Happens. Like, like that's it's in the movie, it's in the book. Yeah, no. Why do I know so much about Harry Potter?
You are really good at this Harry Potter analysis.
We'll have to do a Matt on Harry Potter.
I've actually, like, for a while, like I wanted to like just watch like the first one through the last one all like in a single marathon, because like I have this theory that like, and it's not really a theory, it's pretty explicit. It's the wizards aren't a secret. Like, they know about that, because like when in the first movie, and I'm not talking, the books don't matter. I'm not talking about the books, only the movies. In the first movie, when Harry gets accepted into Hogwarts, like his Muggle relatives are like witnessing infinite envelopes just flying through the mail slot, and like and like there's this fucking owl that won't go away, and like and then like before Hagrid even like bursts in on like the chitty chitty bang bang motorcycle, fucking the aunt goes on about like, oh, like Lily, she got in, we have a witch in the family. The Muggles are fully aware of the wizarding world.
Yeah.
Like it's not a fucking there's
Hermione.
no way in hell people don't see these assholes just running head first into that fucking pillar in the train station. So like what I think's happening is that the Muggles are fully aware that wizard Hitler is on the rise again, and they're building a child army to fight him. Just saying, like, because they know.
Yeah.
Like Hermione's got the Muggle parents; they're fully aware because she's got to wipe their memory at one point, like when they're building like the Order of the Phoenix and all that.
No, she sends them to Australia.
That's in the book.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the books. Books are bullshit. Reading is for assholes. It's not theory. No. Once the movie comes out, the book is bullshit. Movies beat books.
Doesn't matter anymore.
Movies are better than books. Like I'm going to take the hot take. Movies are better than books.
You heard it here on Lit with Lenin. We do reading on here, but you know.
No, books are bullshit if it's not theory. Like I said, that Harry Potter is not theory. All right, we got the movies, so we don't have to read the books. Though I will like, I tried to read the first one when it came out, when it was like a big thing. I was in 3rd grade, hated it, couldn't get into it. Went back to reading Victor Hugo.
You were at that age though. That you were like,
okay.
I was reading Victor Hugo instead when I was that age. Like the Hunchback, like Notre Dame de Paris, like was much more my speed at 8 years old than Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Okay, this is good to know that you. So, if we make Lenin a movie, will we have to read Lenin?
It's like it depends how good the movie is.
You just have to make movies of everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and like I will say that like from like books I've read to like movies I've seen, I can say this like definitively is that Jaws and Starship Troopers are 100% better than their source material in every single way.
Wait, Jaws? There's a book called Jaws?
Yeah, Jaws was based on a book.
I didn't know that. I mean, I knew there was a book, but I thought it came out after the movie. But
No, it's not a novelization of the movie. Jaws is based on a book, and it's better than the because like it's really weird because like the book kind of like does more what like I hate it when movies do, which is like it's a book, but it tries to show you and not tell you, but the movie shows instead of telling you. Yeah. So they both got it backwards from how like they normally like fuck up. But like so Jaws is a metaphor for dealing with your alcoholism, and Brody's alcoholism is much more in the background. You like watch it, like the dude just like casually pours himself like a 40-ounce glass of wine at one point during like a conversation, and like the whole thing is like you go out with like fucking buddies to get this shark that's just dogging you that you need to kill after like you lost your job under mysterious circumstances because like you're just drinking red wine straight out of the bottle at noon or what the hell ever, and like and so like you go out into the middle of the ocean and you kill that shark, and then you got to swim back to shore, and it's just you and your little Richard Dreyfuss sponsor. He's the only one that knows you killed that shark. You got no proof. You sank a boat out there. Like you got to apologize to some people. It's 100% Alcoholics Anonymous told in the form of hunting a fucking shark.
All I gotta say is I watched that movie in the theater with my sister brought me, and I was only 8 or 9 years old. And
how long did it take the acid to kick in then?
She drank a red slushy in front of me, which freaked me out. And then I couldn't sit on the toilet for like 2 weeks because I was afraid a shark was going to come up and bite my foot.
That's a weird connection to draw.
I was scared of all water after.
That's hilarious. That's what Stephen King tried to do with the movie Dreamcatcher. He wanted to make Alien for the toilet.
Yeah.
And all he did was make a book that belonged there.
Well, when I saw Wizard of Oz for the first time, I was really frightened because I thought the house was gonna fly away.
Well, I kind of did fly with it.
Yeah, I can see
our
it.
house
Oh,
didn't
there's
real
another
life.
one. The Wicked Witch of the West in that is the hero of that story. Like
Who is she?
because like Dorothy's just some bitch that showed up out of nowhere. Her house flattened her sister. Then she stole the shoes right off this corpse. Just took them because that's normal. Like, oh yeah, my house flew in here from Kansas. It killed this woman. I'm gonna take her shoes because they shiny. And then this other witch floats down and says, oh yeah, that old bitch over there sucks. You just stole her sister's shoes. Like, fuck her. Like, go to Oz to get out of here with those shoes. Like, she just wants her sister's shoes back, man. Like, there's like so many opportunities where she just could have straight up murdered Dorothy and didn't. Like, she shows infinite mercy like throughout that entire movie. There's a scene like they meet on the middle of the yellow brick road. She's throwing fireballs directly at him, missing on purpose, like worse than a stormtrooper. Like, just like, give me back the fucking shoes.
We just do a show like it's called Matt Has Thoughts.
Yeah, let's do that. That's actually a great idea because you are okay. So we learned that
Books don't matter once the movie comes. It's not scary. That's good to know.
No, fiction books suck. Like the only, like, Kafka counts as theory. Read as much Kafka as you can. Victor Hugo counts as theory. Read Victor Hugo.
Okay.
That's about it. Mary Shelley's pretty good too. Percy Shelley sucks.
Are they related?
No, they were married, or yeah.
Yeah, she married Percy, but it was her father is William Godwin. Her mother was what's her name? She was like a big feminist back then.
Was it Wollstonecraft?
Mary Wollstonecraft.
Yeah, Wollstonecraft. Yeah.
And so then she marries Percy, he's a poet.
Yeah, a prick romantic poet. Like yeah, real fussy fancy boy.
Matt, did you ever write poetry?
What?
Did you ever write poetry?
I've written some lyrics or so, like a couple times. Like, I mean, that's kind of poetry, but no, I never wrote something like, oh, this is like, anything I write that rhymes is like was supposed to end up to music. Yeah. So.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm actually reading this really interesting book. It's called Soviet Society: History of the Building of Socialism in Russia, Part 1.
Oh, nice.
By Alstinsky. L-I-L. And he's really cool in that he explains about like revolution and counter-revolution, and it's very interesting. I just finished chapter 1 of this.
Are you getting faster reading in Russian? Like, are you?
Yeah, I've gotten pretty good at reading in Russian. Мировая экономический кризис 1901-1903 годах наиболее тяжело сказался на экономическом положении России. Yeah, I'm actually, and now I'm understanding. I understood everything. Like, I started reading this in the train station, in the metro station, and I understood everything I read. So my vocabulary is also improving. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So Mary Shelley's mother was Mary Wollstonecraft. Yeah, and like I should have known that. I should have known that offhand because like I remember reading like this really like fucked up story about like how like William Godwin would like basically drag her to her mother's grave like on an extremely regular basis. Like he missed her like very dearly, and like so, and like as a result, like I mean like almost like obsessive compulsive disorder, like visiting this grave and like bringing like his daughter with him to the like very, very fucking morbid, like holy shit.
She wrote about morbid stuff.
No, it's really not surprising that she like wrote Frankenstein, like had this fixation on oh gee, robbing graves. Like yeah, yeah, you know, like I was thinking about this. Like, if anybody in the chat is like happens to be like a fan of Attack on Titan, is the Titans in that show are a better representation of how Frankenstein is described than any film adaptation of him like ever. Because like the whole thing, like in the book, is that Frankenstein's monster was made out of parts that were each individually selected according to a standard of beauty. So he had like beautiful hands, beautiful feet, like just like cut like Adonis body, gorgeous face, but like all the proportions were off and he wasn't really alive. So it just didn't look right.
Yeah.
You know, it was like very uncanny valley thing, but everything about him was technically beautiful. He had like long flowing hair, like almost kind of like Fabio-esque, but like undead, uncanny, cold, like rubbery, fake looking. Even though he was supposed to, by all measures, like should have been beautiful, but was just repulsive, and didn't understand how to interact like with like social cues and stuff. You know, you're bad. Like
I thought, you know, as you're saying this, I thought this has been so long ago. I heard someone speaking on this probably like 20, 30 years ago, like saying like talking about the first Frankenstein monster that they, you know, created for, you know, media for the movies.
Yeah, Boris Karloff.
Why they used the makeup they did, because
like the whole thing was because, like, you know, in the book, the monster is like articulate, like he speaks really well. Yeah. Like he learns, and like, and you know, he like has a speech like, you know, where he like names himself Adam, and like, you know, like, you know, my you know my terrible father, like standard story. And the reason, like in the movies, that like he didn't speak, like the Boris Karloff one, he couldn't move his jaw in the makeup.
Yeah.
It
was something to do with the prosthetics and the makeup and stuff like
that. And I guess like they were so happy with the way the makeup looked, they were just like walk around and go and like that way we don't have to like do any of that thinky stuff. Like thinky shit's for books, which are bullshit. Like people just want to come here and like watch you like move, and like, you know, people were scared shitless of that movie apparently.
Yeah.
Like, it's so scary. The movie was scary enough that, like, when Boris Karloff was playing Jonathan in Arsenic and Old Lace, they wrote it into the script that, like, this face makes me look like Boris Karloff, and everybody's like, I saw that face in the movie theater. That's Frankenstein. It's terrifying. Yeah. Why didn't Boris Karloff play Jonathan in the movie?
I don't know.
Because they kept the "I look like Boris Karloff" joke, but like they got a guy that looked more like H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Weird. Well, I also recommend H.G. Wells. Also, H.G. Wells.
War of the Worlds is a parable about what it's like to be colonized by the English.
Exactly. No. In fact, in the very first page, he says, if you think the Martians are cruel, is it not the same for the Tasmanians when they first met the English? Like he literally puts that inside like the very first few pages. He mentions that.
Yeah. Somehow that gets lost in the movie adaptations. Go figure.
By Hollywood.
He wants to know if Frankenstein monster sings "Putting on the Ritz" in the book too.
Oh, unfortunately. Another Ritz.
Yeah, people actually got freaked out from the War of the Worlds radio show because,
they tuned in the middle and thought it was like a live broadcast of like
Martians invading Earth.
I think I've told Asha this one, that I was like 12 years old and I turned on the TV and it was like 12, 13, 14. It's somewhere where that the next day or something, like whatever it was, but it was the newscasters that were announcing that the Russians like set off the nuclear bomb. And like, that's what I turned the TV on to.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, I was so scared.
And like, what was it, like Red Dawn or something? Like,
Yeah, no, it wasn't Red Dawn. There's another movie. It was like a TV
no, there's
movie at
yeah,
the
there's.
time.
Oh, was it the U.S. The U.S. adaptation of Threads?
I no, it was like the day after, or like it was
Yeah,
something.
yeah. The day after. That's the in the
Yeah.
UK. The UK miniseries was called Threads, and it's way better.
Okay, all right.
It's way better. Don't watch it near a gun.
Well, meanwhile, my dad's watching a different TV, and I'm up there. I'm like, I go up to him, and he's watching like sports or something on TV, and I'm just like, Dad, he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I have the TV on there. What is this?
Wow, that's wild.
But I thought we were all gonna die.
Well, I remember I was homesick on 9/11. I'm watching a Golden Girls marathon, and like it goes like, thank you for being a friend. We interrupt this broadcast to tell you that we're all fucked. Like, we're going to die. We are under attack. They're flying shit into buildings.
Just waking up really late on 9/11 and then like seeing this on this, like, I don't know, it didn't even register to me until later that evening.
You slept through 9/11. Love it.
Yeah.
Work, and I didn't have any media on, and my ex-husband like called me, and because my father was actually on a plane right then.
Oh my God!
Oh,
Where was
shit.
And he was flying into New York. He was coming from Rome to New York, and
Did they figure out his flight?
Yeah, he was up in Newfoundland for 6 days.
And then he drove to Boston.
They flew him back down. They when they could fly again. So they all, like, a bunch of them were stuck up in. There's actually they did a play about it, about the people that got stuck in Newfoundland.
Yeah, no. We were supposed to go to Amsterdam that year, my family, and like we chickened. Like my dad was too scared to do it. And my mom, and I because like 1 month after 9/11, like it was all planned. My dad was still like too because like he was having like sort of like he didn't really say it, but I think looking back on it, I think he was having like sort of like a weird Vietnam thing about it, like and also like my dad like had been on a plane like 2 previous times, and both times like the plane almost crashed. Like the time before this, when he was on the plane, like his last flight before this anyway, the landing gear on his plane failed. Yeah, and they had to do a belly landing in like 6 feet of that
went to China 2 months later. So they were coming home from Greece, and they always. So my uncle was a pilot. He was grounded as of then because he was 60 years old. So then he was supposed to be able to fly till 63, but they grounded him because they didn't need him after that.
Yeah,
and
so
he was in the air too.
Right.
So.
Yeah. My dad, like I remember like because like I was only like 2001, so I was only like 9, and but like I remember my parents arguing about this because like my dad was like too like pathological, had a psychological block about the idea of getting on a plane in November 2001, and to go to the Netherlands. And I remember my mom just yelling, "God damn it, if you don't go, the terrorists win." Like I think my mom just like really wanted to like get her hands on like some Netherlands weed or something.
My father was just like, it's the safest time to travel now.
No, that was the thing, because like this was planned. This was planned anyway, that like we were gonna go, because like my dad, it was for like this like international, like my dad like in his retirement bred pigeons in like a very serious way. Like his observations on genetics were cited in like 4 different people's master's theses on genetics. Like just my dad's observations on breeding pigeons.
Homing pigeons, or were they just?
He raised homing pigeons to feed the inbred monstrosities that he did raise, that are called.
Can you send me notes over here, since I'm only like 20 miles from you? You could send me a note by a homing pigeon.
Yeah, I guess like I could if I had a place to keep pigeons. which I
wanna
don't, unfortunately.
invite
How far
you.
can homing pigeons locate stuff?
They think it's that they can sense electromagnetic fields. Like I think that the they say like the nasal sears have something to do with it, with like picking up on like the poles, so they can just like locate stuff anyway. They also have an incredible memory. There is a book that, I shit you not, it's called Superstition in the Pigeon, and like it documents pigeons exhibiting superstitious behaviors in a 1-1 way to humans.
How?
Like basically like so you, like, you know, the standard experiment, you know, monkey pushes button, food pellet comes out, monkey pushes other button, gets electric shock, like learn stuff like that. If a pigeon happens to be like rotating counterclockwise when like a food pellet comes out, even if like it knows it can just peck to get the button for the food, it will rotate counterclockwise before it pecks again.
Why?
Because pigeons are fucking superstitious.
Why are we superstitious?
Because we're pigeons.
Because we're very, very stupid.
Oh,
Okay.
I thought
Like,
'cause
like
pigeons.
we are barely above like these goddamn dinosaurs that have brains the size of a snow pea.
Mm.
Like, you know, that is why.
Rick was saying about 9/11 that in Texas he saw white people become Islamophobic in real time. No, I am right outside.
Oh yeah, they
It just
no,
became
they never
acceptable
did.
to say it out loud.
No, they never cared. They weren't Islamophobic. They were just like it was just under the Orientalist umbrella. Like, you know, oh, we're not scared of you, but like, oh, we're fascinated. We're gonna poke and prod you like you're in a fucking zoo. Because like you're just like one of these weird backwards like type people. We're not like.
And I hate you guys. So we're sitting here with Asha, and I worked with a woman who was Indian.
Yeah.
And the people in the office.
Yeah.
Didn't understand. Like started becoming a little.
Yeah, they looked at like Islam and like Muslims as like, you know, like weird oddities, like and then like as this 9/11 happened, like, yeah, no, people like that Orientalism like turned into like actual like genocidal rage. You know, like the like really like the European conception of you know, West Asian cultures was actually like, you know, really like they were like, you know, lewd barbarians. It's like, you know, before the like before
That's
like
before Europeans installed Saudis in.
Well, the reason like
lewd barbarianism.
Well, yeah, before like the Europeans like beat all like the murderous homophobia into them, like, you know, it wasn't that like gay people were like, you know, I don't want to say accepted as in like integrated, but there was a like place there was a place for what we would call LGBTQ people in Muslim and Islamic societies prior to European infection. And
exactly.
Like, but you know, it wasn't like a seamless integration or like anything like that. But it was not like, oh, look, a gay person, let's tie him to this log and set it on fire and invite the whole town to watch. Like, none of that shit was going on before like the Europeans got there and like started like, you know, like, you know, and like when the Europeans go somewhere, like they bring like syphilis and shame. That's about it. Like,
well, Evo Morales called it the
not civilization, but the civilization.
Yeah, that's what he called it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Anyways, this was really fascinating. So this week we're gonna have a really nice episode about Syria with Vanessa Beeley, which is gonna come out sometime this week. Which
I look forward to it. Anybody in the chat who doesn't already should follow me on Twitter at uncle_authority. I post 80,000 times a day.
Yeah, I've been spotty, so sometimes I post 80,000 times, sometimes I just post twice a day. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I made the mistake of looking up and realized that on this account in like 2 years, I've sent like 70,000 tweets.
I've calmed down in the last 6 months.
Do they count retweets? Do they count retweets?
I don't know.
Because like if that goes to your tweet count, then like okay, like then it's probably more. Then it's probably more like instead of 70,000, 60,000. I can live with.
I don't know. Honestly, I do not know.
I can live with 60, not 70. That's too much.
Okay, so what else? We're gonna have some interest. In 2 weeks from now, we're gonna read Georgy Dimitrov and something about fascism.
Okay, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, was he the one that did like the
he was arrested for doing the Reichstag fire, but
no, I was gonna say like he was like in the Comintern, the Congress where they like came up with like the whole like fascism is capitalism and decay thesis.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, that's one I want to talk about because we got to update that shit.
Okay,
and I also want to talk to you about some translation issues that I have with that too, because like
if it's written in Bulgarian, I won't be able to help with that.
I don't know about that, but like there's probably like a Russian variant of it too, and like we can like cross in between because Bulgarian and Russian are like they're more similar.
Letters, not
it doesn't matter. They're more similar than Ukrainian and Russian are. So
I cannot
like
understand Ukrainian. Ukrainian sounds very different when I hear it.
I have this screenshot, and it's a true fact that we can all learn a bit about international diplomacy from this. Is that the Russian word for example in Ukrainian means rifle butt? So yeah, same word.
I did not know that.
No, look it up. It's awesome.
Rifle butt here. I'm going to talk about.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, here's your example. Boom.
Okay. So follow us, follow everything. We will also have more things which we're
I've got
more video content this year.
I have writing coming down the pike.
Hopefully soon, because you've been working on the.
I'm glad that like this has taken this long because now we're at a point where Poland's coming and saying like, hey Ukraine, nice Lviv you got there. Yeah. It'd be a shame if something happened to us. Let us hold on to it for a little while, so like the Russians don't hurt it. We'll give it back, we promise. So like it's so like I'm glad that like I waited for this moment.
Yeah, and Polish TV has been salivating over this for at least.
No, new shit keeps happening like every time like. Because like I wanted to like take it like up like to the invasion from like 1991 to the invasion, like a thorough like materialist history of every shitstorm that happened that like got us here, and like new shit keeps happening that's like extremely relevant, and I have to like move shit around.
Okay, I know. We will trust that you will have
and like they're using and like there's a whole neo-colonial aspect that involves like Algeria too, because they were using the French colonies to cover for the losses of the Russian gas.
What?
Yeah. I was expecting it was going to come out of Libya, but no, they were using France to pull it out of Algeria to make up the difference when like everything shut down.
Okay, by the way, this is actually true. Check their constitution. It says that in order to be a citizen of Latvia, you must have like, in order to be like a natural citizen, you have to be a citizen in 1942, which is literally you have to be so they're just like excluding everyone who's not a Nazi who got their citizenship after 1942.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Our audience is saying goodbye to us before we.
Okay, so sorry. Okay.
So we will say
yeah, Slava Leninu.
Svoboda narodu, smrti fašizmu.
Rifle butt.